Hi, I'm Michael Allen Schneider. I'm a voice actor and voice director. Today, I want to zoom in on a very specific part of our employer's offer on our current interactive contract, because I've seen a ton of confusion about one absolutely critical point, okay? As currently written, our employers can prompt a GAI system with the name of a character, and no matter what comes out the other end, even if it is 100% recognizable as your voice, they can just use it. They don't need to ask your permission. They don't need to pay you. Nothing. They can just take it. Awful! How could that be in the contract, you might say? And here's the rub. It's not. In fact, that's the whole problem. This issue stems from how employers have chosen to define what they call an independently created digital replica, or ICDR. They've created an incredibly complex definition pictured here. Whoa. That's a lot, right? I'm not going to get into this whole thing today, but it's important to note this little "and" right here. That single word means that all of these 5 clauses must be met in order for the replica to count as an ICDR. So if there's a hitch in any of them, it's totally disqualified. We'll get into why that's important later. We're only going to focus on Roman numeral 2, because the really nasty part is in that single sentence. Let's check it out. That is primarily created from vocal performances or audiovisual performances, or live action performances of that performer that were not IMA covered, or is created by prompting a GAI system with that principal performer's name. Note the last "or." Let's say an employer wants a voice for their new Spider-Man game, and they prompt a GAI with Yuri Lowenthal. Well, that obviously fulfills the second part of the "or" clause, right? They used his name. Now let's say they prompt it with Spider-Man 2018, and Yuri's voice, fully recognizable, pops out. Here's where some people are getting confused. Since obviously the performance is being created with material from that game, right? Where else would it come from? And that game is an IMA covered performance. But that material is all in the soup of whatever GAI they're prompting. So let me be absolutely clear. The first part of this "or" clause refers only to a digital replica that the employer made themselves. It does not include any kind of prompting of any other AI model. Our negotiators have repeatedly asked employers to clarify this, and they have explicitly stated every time that this is their stance. We're not making this up. So according to them, they can prompt a GAI with Spider-Man 2018, and whatever comes out, again, even if it is 100% recognizable as our pal Yuri, it's not an ICDR. So why does that matter? Like I said before, this is actually about what's not in the contract, because there's nothing in the contract whatsoever about this kind of material being used. It has no classification, and that means that it is completely outside the contract and there are no rules, no protections, no consent, and no pay. Again, they can just take it. You wouldn't even find out about it until the game was released and you saw it yourself, or your mom calls you and says, "Congratulations, Yuri, you're in Spider-Man again. Good job. I didn't even know you were doing that." Yeah. There's a ton more I could go into about what's wrong with just this paragraph, but look how long it took just to explain the problems with a single sentence. This entire offer from our employers is riddled with loopholes like this, which is why it's so important to have some trust in the expertise of the people who have been tirelessly negotiating this contract for over 2.5 years, right? I promise you don't know it better than they do. And I know a lot of people have been genuinely confused about this because the language is confusing, and that's by design. They want us confused, they want us fighting each other, because our solidarity is our greatest weapon. So don't let it work.